When you say that you shouldn't be hanging out with people that are single and married, do you mean people that are not saved or just single, period?
If one of the people, if somebody's married and they have a friend that's single, it's not wise to hang out for married people, like one person to hang out with someone that's single. And what I mean is, say for instance, if my wife and I, if we have, even if it's a mutual friend, and she has a girlfriend that's single, well, she shouldn't be hanging out with somebody that's single. It's one thing if we invite them here and we're all sitting together. It's a completely different thing if they're going to hang out and things like that, because they're not going to be talking about, that single friend is not going to be talking about married life, especially if they've never been married. They don't quite understand it to begin with, and so that's ripe ground for conversation to take place that shouldn't take place, and things like that. Now, I'm not saying that every situation like that ends bad or that it'll go down the wrong road, but we're talking about using discretion and just not going down that path to begin with, if that makes any sense. And so we just have to be careful with that, and not allow ourselves to go down that road, because most of the time when you're really in your marriage, single folks don't want to really be around you to begin with, not much, because your mindset have changed, your life have changed. And so you're not talking about the same things that they're not talking about, whether they're saved or not. Now, they may be saved, just as saved as you are, but you're not going to talk about the same things, because 9 times out of 10, they're trying to get to where you are. You can't allow them to pull you where they are as far as trying to get into a relationship. You've already passed that point. And so what happens, you begin to lose the commonality that you once had. The life that you live when you're single is not the same life that you're going to live when you're married. You have a husband or a wife, and you probably have children. Your life is built around that. And so that takes away the selfishness. But when you are single, I'm going to tell you, one of the hardest things to go from being single to married is removing self out of the way so that your marriage can last and stand. And so people who are single, a lot of times their life is based around them. They can make decisions when they want to about whatever, and see, when you're married, it's not that way. Before I make any major decisions, I consult my wife. Single people don't have that to worry about. They can make whatever decision they want to make. They don't have a husband or a wife to talk to about it or anything like that. And so you're not on the same ground. And so to keep from being pulled onto some ground that you shouldn't be pulled on, it's just wise not to go around that to begin with. Does that answer your question?
And I'm going to just say this, because I want to just kind of clear this. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have friends who are single, but the amount of time you spend with those people, that's where the discretion comes in at, because it's like you're saying, when you start hanging around with somebody single, you're hanging with people who have a totally different mindset. Their life is probably dating a lot of different people. So that's what they want to talk about, and so you have to be really, really careful, because I have, friends who are single and we talk, we keep in touch, but the truth is, like you said, what was once a common ground is no longer a common ground. We can talk about the word. They may ask about the family, but the truth of the matter is like you said, nobody is as concerned about your marriage as you are. They don't want to hear about you and your spouse and what all lovely things y'all doing and all the kids did this and that. It's only so much of that they want to hear. And that's just to be honest. And so you have to use that discretion, okay, because if not, what's going to happen, and I say this all the time, when you hang around somebody, either they're going to start acting like you or you're going to start acting like them. And so if you're not careful, then you're going to start acting like a single person. And then suddenly the freedoms that they have to move about as a single person, you're going to start seeing it as, oh, wait a minute, my marriage is restricting me. I need the freedom to come and go, and I want to be able to stay out till midnight because it sounds like my single friends are having so much fun. And that's somewhere that it could go if you're not careful. So you have to have that balance there. It's not that, like, you don't have to lose contact with them. You don't have to stop talking to them. You're not going to stop loving them, because I know my friends, I don't talk to them every single day. We can go months getting caught up in our own life, and then when we talk again, we just catch up, and, we're still friends. Nothing has changed. And so that means I don't have to hang out with them every time they go somewhere. In other words, we're still going to be friends. But it's just that common ground and that commonality is different at this point. And so you just have to use discretion in how much time you're spending with people who are of a different mindset than you are.
Yeah. And we're not talking about just pushing your friends out the door or anything like that, because the fact of the matter is, if you were friends before, especially before you were married, that's one thing. But, at the same time, even if you were friends before the marriage took place, your mindset have changed. Now, if you feel comfortable, and if people feel comfortable around you while you're married and they're single, and y'all just continue going down the same path that you were, like, y'all have the same relationship that you had before the marriage, then something is wrong. There's no way folks should line up the way they lined up before marriage took place between one or the other. Either that person's not all the way in the marriage that is married, or something's wrong, And so just have to be careful with those things and use wisdom with that, because it's a road that the enemy can use, It's a road that the enemy can use. I had a friend who was single, and I would visit just to see how he was doing, but I had to draw a line with, him talking about single life. I didn't want to hear about single, because I wasn't single. So I went out of my way to make friends, and to be friends with people who were married, because I think when you're married, you need to have some married friends, and so that y'all can build one another up and things like that, because married people, they have a married mindset, most of them. And again, single people, their minds maybe is on getting into a relationship so that you're not even in the same place. You're not in the same place. And so it's just about using wisdom. And again, it doesn't mean that every situation is going to turn out bad. It just means using wisdom to see down the road and see what could happen and what could be, so that you avoid those things.